guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Actually Lady, You're the One Who Works Here. In my area, we have a community garden that is run by volunteers, including me. It's pretty standard community garden rules. At the start of the season, you get an assigned plot and paid. You plant things there and take care of your little garden area. If you don't plant or don't care for your plot, you lose it to the next person on the waiting list. It's the first thing of its kind in our area, and there is a pretty long waiting list. Because our garden is run by unpaid volunteers, we have been somewhat slow to contact people whose plots have not been planted. We were almost 2 months into the season before I emailed the few errant people for the first time. Almost everyone responded immediately. There was just one empty plot that remained empty after another few weeks of emails. I actually called the number of the lady who the plot was assigned to. I will call this lady Not a Gardener, or NAG for short. NAG was shocked to hear that she was in danger of losing her plot to Furious. I get it. Maybe the emails weren't received. One of us should have called right away. She kept demanding to talk to the person in charge and kept asking about her vegetables and who was at fault for this negligence. I apologized again and just let her know that she needed to come and plant soon or give the plot up. I got off the phone as quickly as possible because I did not want to deal with her. I had the pleasure of meeting NAG the following weekend when I was at the garden with my 2 little kids. NAG marched over to me and with no introduction immediately started in again about the negligence and how could we be so unprofessional and where were her vegetables. She was puffy and angry and very, very rude. She wouldn't let me finish a sentence and was trying to tell me she was going to get me fired from my volunteer garden position. I was trying to calm her down, but she wouldn't let me get a few words into it before she interrupted me. Finally, to get her away from my kids, I said, "Let's go and see your plot." We walked over to the area where her plot was, and it was very clear that it was the only neglected plot in the whole garden. The other plots have many plants already growing big. You can see peppers and tomatoes starting to be ready, cucumbers climbing all over the place, and a huge variety of greens and herbs. NAG plot is dirt and weeds. NAG basically stops dead in her tracks, sputters a bit, and then her whole tone changes. She went from being angry to wailing and crying about how could we do this to her. How could we treat her like this? What had she done to us? Was it because she was new? Because she was American. Poor her. She deserved better. What about her vegetables? She really needed her vegetables. She gets a little hysterical and starts to point out plots that are grown and have vegetables and demanding those. She even went as far as to try and grab a green tomato from the neighboring plot, but her heels slipped a little and she almost fell. This set her off more and she is making quite a show, so others in the garden come over to check on her. As she wails, I suddenly realize what is happening. NAG thought that the community garden meant that we were going to garden for her, and her fee at the start of the year is for us to plant her vegetables and care for her plot and harvest her veggies for her. She has been sitting at home all this time expecting vegetable deliveries. I should have figured it out sooner, but all I wanted was to not deal with her, so I wasn't paying as much attention to her as I should have. Also, the garden rules are pretty clear, and when she paid, she signed an agreement to the rules. I explained it as nicely as I could to NAG. The plots are for her to plant and grow. Her small fee only covers the cost of the land and irrigation system. If she wants the vegetables she's been demanding, she needs to plant them and care for them. It is her job, not ours. She is the one that works on her plot, not us. It takes a few tries to get this through, and luckily another volunteer is there to be with me as a backup. She, of course, gets angry again about how no one told her when she signed the paperwork, and it's all very clear there. I let her know there's some money left. If she wants her feedback, we'll give it to her and give her plot to the next person on the waiting list. She yelled at me, "That won't be necessary," which was funny because it's a polite sentence, but she said it in the rudest way possible, and she stomps off out the gate and away. The next weekend I go to the garden and surprise. Her plot is planted, and it looks great. She has a good variety and things are done neatly. There are little paper stones to walk on and tons of veggies. It turns out she has hired a professional gardener to do her community garden. He's very nice and polite and happy to talk about why the tomatoes are dying or how to add more potassium through compost. He is willing to babysit other plots if people are on vacations, He's super friendly, and it's great to run into him. He has set out seedlings for anyone to take a number of times as well. I'm so happy to not have to see NAG ever again, and instead, we have an awesome new friend. The next story is titled Parking Lot Revenge. The stage is the local big box retailer parking lot. I'd parked my Ford Explorer on the side of the store between two minivans, and as such, my visibility for backing out of my space was impaired. I'd ease out slowly only to hear a furious horn and a red Dodge Neon flyby coming from the backside of the store. Damn, lady, excuse me. I finish my backing procedure and see her waiting at the end of the row about even with the front of the store. She's right in the middle, and I have enough room to get around her on the right and turn right to exit the lot. I do so, and as I'm pulling away I see her in my rearview mirror, gassing it hard coming after me. Oh, so you want to discuss this further, do you? I hit the brakes kinda hard, and you can guess the predictable outcome. Keep in mind this is a truck. I tow a small camper. It's got a Class Roman 3 receiver hitch. These do not give at all. I hop out and see that she has impaled the nose of her pretty little red car on my hitch. There is coolant. There is transmission fluid. There are words, many of them foul, from both her and her passenger boyfriend. I smile as the language pours forth until she gets to the part where she exclaims that her father is on the police force and I'm going to be sorry. At that point I inform her that in the case of a rear-end collision, the rearmost vehicle is almost always cited for failure to maintain a safe following distance, and her father should be able to explain that to her. Police are called and some random patrolman shows up. Statements are taken, but no citations are issued as it's private property. I see her and her friend pull away, trailing fluids, and as a last measure of justice, I see her car doesn't even have a permanent tag yet, just a paper dealership plate. I pop back into the store to buy a new trailer plug connector. The next story is titled We Are Closed. No, I'm not letting you in. Good night. Our store closed tonight for Christmas, Eve at 6 p.m. Our store is 24/7, so it hardly ever closes ever. I was working in the jewelry department since early that morning and was absolutely overwhelmed with people and checking customers out at the same time. They announced the store was about to close, all departments are closed, and for everyone to proceed to a register. I check people out while everyone not on a register sweep the store, pulling everyone to the checkouts, asking them to leave. We worked hard all day and finally, all the customers were gone, and they said we can clock out and have a Merry Christmas. I was strolling out of the back like I was on fire. They let us have 30 minutes to do some quick shopping after closing for our hard work. We grabbed some groceries and some food, and lined up all socializing, sharing gifts, and having a good time waiting to check out. I met up with my husband, who also works there on the other end of the store. Our store manager was guarding the door with a big security guard. She wished us a Merry Christmas and let us out of the store. Understand that our store manager does not bow to anyone. She don't care who you are if you aren't corporate. She will tell you to get the hell out and duck off with no hesitation, even to customers. During closing, she gave no ducks. She told everyone in the store 10 minutes till to get their stuff and get in line at a register. Anyone who dared to argue quickly got in line when she would say, "Okay, if you aren't going to check out, give me all your items and walk out that door or be thrown out." We merrily walked out to our car. I put the groceries up and an old man approaches us. I heard that you guys are closed tonight. Is that true? Me, yep. Well, is there any way you can get us in the store? Me, no, we're closed. What? Please. Me, no, we are closed. I'm leaving. No, you are not leaving. This is ridiculous. You are being so rude. Where is your manager? I point at the store manager, who is literally 30 feet from me, who, for extra hilarity, is currently shouting at a customer telling her she cannot come in, leave, or she will call the police. The timing was priceless. I smiled and milked that crap for all it was worth. Me, my name is. Go tell her I wouldn't let you in the store. Let's go over there together. He just stood there in shock for a moment, with bewilderment in his eyes, knowing he lost. Oh, that's okay. Sorry. If that wasn't enough, my husband shouted goodbye. Get your stuff and get out, as we wanted you to move your cart. So I went into a grocery store, Co-op, to grab some things, some snacks and baking supplies. I grab a basket and go up the lanes, and every so often I would have to backtrack because of a blonde girl on her phone has blocked half the aisle with her cart. The cart was horizontal, so it completely blocked off the aisle. Anyways, after bumping into her at least 3 times, the third time being the most annoying as her and her cart is blocking the thing I need, cinnamon. And I can't run through to another aisle as the cart is literally in front of it. So I go up to her and ask, "Me, excuse me, can you? Blonde? Oh my god. I don't fucking work here. I'm not even wearing clothes from here. Me, that's not what. Blonde, do I look like I work here? Do I have some sort of worker aura that must make me work here? Oh my god." She pretty much interrupts me and goes back to her phone telling whoever it was how she got mistaken for an employee. I don't say anything and just push her cart out of the way. "Blonde, this my cart, you can't take it," and I grabbed the cinnamon and showed it to her. "Me, I was asking you to move your cart so I could get the cinnamon. I didn't think you worked here. I just wanted you to move." She went kind of red in the face, straightened out her cart, and left the aisle. I did see her a couple of times while I got the rest of my stuff, but she didn't look at me. The next story is titled "Lady Mistakes My Parents as Employees and Stomps on Mom's Service Dog's Tail." Well, I never thought I would see them, but here we go. Mobile English is first language. Come at me, Reddit. As a celebration to being fully vaccinated, myself and my family decided we were going to go away for a week to go whale watching. Such a trip needs supplies, so my family heads to the Market of Walls to get groceries and such. So to start, what we were wearing. My mother was wearing a blue dress with short sleeves, trimmed with white flowers design in beige khakis. Oh yeah, she also has a service dog too, vest and all, a brace dog for those who are curious. My father was wearing a gray button-up shirt and black pants. Finally, I was wearing blue jeans and a green shirt that read I'd make a Zelda pun, but I don't want it to try and force it. Service dog, who I will shorten to Doggo, was wearing his service vest. When we entered the Market of Walls, my mother and father went one way and I went the other way. I was to get things like sunscreen and stuff while my parents got the food. We were bringing our own food since the food there is super expensive. As such, this part is secondhand for my parents, but I will embellish with the classic Karen tropes. They were in the frozen food aisle picking out some burgers and sausages for our grills. They had first heard the classical "excuse me" when choosing between Mazza burgers and BBQ sauce burgers. They had just ignored it, but my mother felt Doggo tugging at the leash, trying to get her attention. Not something he was trained to do, just really smart. Mom turned around and saw our Karen for this story. She was clearly confused by the blue dress and began asking my mom where something was in the aisles. Obviously, my mother said she didn't work there, and this set Karen off. My father heard the conflict and approached them, but the gray button-up shirt made Karen think he was a manager. I wish I could explain more, but as I said, this was secondhand. At this point, Karen must have stepped on Doggo's tail, because as I was heading back to find my parents, I heard poor Doggo yell loudly, which is out of character for him, and I took off running. I arrived to the scene with my mother trying to comfort Doggo, his tail slightly red from blood, and my mother tending to it, my father arguing with Karen, and an employee, wearing a blue shirt, black pants, and an apron coming up. Employee is trying to figure out what is going on, and Karen is going on about how disrespectful my mother and the manager are being. The employee is trying to explain the whole concept of us being customers, but Karen wasn't listening. I took the employee aside and asked him to get the real manager and approached Karen. I should note, I run role-playing games, and through that have learned how to improvise. "Me? What's going on here?" Karen looks to me. "Who are you?" "Me, I'm the manager. What are you doing here?" My father gave me a confused look and went to say something, but I stopped him. Karen looked me over, my cheesy t-shirt, and all and scoffed. "You're not the manager, you're just some kid. I'm 29. "Me? Okay, then what about my parents is telling you they work here?" Karen stopped and looked at my parents, and you can see gears turning in her head. My father saw I had things under control and he went to help my mother, who doesn't work well under stress. "Me? Okay, now that you're listening, what happened?" "Me? That better be true. Doggo is a trained service dog and is worth probably more than what you make in a year." Karen, "I need to." "Me? No, you are staying right here till the manager gets here. Doggo is hurt, and I want to know why." Karen must have been intimidated into staying, which is a surprise to me, which will be explained later. Eventually, the manager arrives. 10 minutes later, guess the situation wasn't urgent enough, along with a pair of police officers who must have been called by someone. Karen tried to defend herself weakly, but all the breeze she had in her sails against my parents were gone. The manager came back and confirmed Karen stomped on Doggo's tail when Doggo got between my mom and Karen. He sat down in front of the two to stand his ground, but he wraps his tail to his side to keep it out of the way, meaning it looked like on camera Karen also kicked Doggo. I saw red, but let my parents take care of things. They pressed charges on Karen, and the manager paid for our groceries personally, telling us he apologizes and that he should have banned her earlier. When we got back to the van, I started crying. You see, something I neglected to say was I'm not a confrontational person. Seeing Doggo hurt, my mother crying and my dad about to deck Karen, I snapped and was actually scared of what I would do. If Karen didn't stand down, I was a bit afraid of what I might have done. Luckily, it didn't come to that. Mom is staying home with Doggo today, while myself and my dad do some running around. She is still shaken up, and we would rather not add more stress to her. The next story is titled, Not My Dog. Hello, I commute with my bike and I take the bus. I have been doing this for 5 years. At the end of my day, I ride to the bus stop and I stand by a tree and get my stuff ready for a few minutes before getting on the bus. On this day, I was standing there and a lady, with earbuds in, came up to me screaming and waving her hands at me to take care of my dog. I was puzzled. There was a black dog walking behind her, and it passed her and came over to me and sniffed my hand and was basically sweet to me. I kept telling her this is not my dog over and over, and she couldn't hear it because she wouldn't take her earbuds out. SMH, she left, and the dog walked around the corner to a bench. A different lady who was sitting on the bench was flipping out and screaming for me to get my dog away from her. Once again, I kept saying, this is not my dog over and over. As I did this though, I watched her body language and realized that she must be terrified. I asked her, are you afraid of dogs? And she cried, yes. I calmly told her that I would keep the dog away from her, but it wasn't my dog. This dog was so nice and super friendly, no tags, but harness. We were near a busy road and I didn't want the dog to get hit by a car. I looked around the neighborhood and saw a young girl in her car in the driveway. I asked her if she could take the dog and call animal control or something. Just keep the dog safe until its owner could be found. She was so kind and the dog just loved her, and she took him for me. I love animals and I kept thinking about this dog for the next 2 days, hoping that it was safe and warm, being fed and given love. Well, about 3 days later, I was at the same bus stop and I saw a nice man walking what looked like the same dog. I asked him about it, and he said yes, he lost his dog a few days ago, and I told him I was the one who found it. I was so happy to know the dog made it home. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.